Good evening, bright, shiny beings. I have the privilege to be here with Johanna Otigum, and I am Megan Elizabeth Morris, and we are broadcasting today Intuitive Prowess for Intuitive Public TV. There's a lot for us to discuss about this, the life energy in this is really big for us. And we haven't done a lot of focusing here, certainly not in the simulti-stream broadcasts. I've added some pre-recorded broadcasts with the Soma, where we have discussed prowess topics of great importance. So I want to describe the basis of the work that we've been doing with our groups in intuitive prowess. And I want to describe Prowess Theurgy, because this has been so important. We are in the midst of navigating what was it that I said Wednesday? I said it in a particular way with a group, achieving the very hardest things at the very hardest time. And people don't necessarily know what that means unless they realize I am trying to achieve the very hardest things at the very hardest time. And that means very different things to different people. But we are working with a wide range of different circumstances, from the most severely affected intersections where severe disablement and ongoing violence and societal isolation and invisibility, terrible resource scarcity, terrible personal and familial and community hardship is occurring. And we're also doing this work spanning all of these layers of different experiences into very privileged circumstances, very well-resourced circumstances, where likewise our community members are having to meet the greatest challenges of their lives, things that feel impossible to deal with that thing that, oh, wow, this is going to break me. I can't do this. How can I live through this? You know, this feeling, so many people have this feeling. And so we do a lot of recognizing in our bodies I was talking about this a little bit with Molly Kay earlier. Where am I located? Am I in my body? And I talk about this also on the Substack. There's a post called Meaningful Vocational Play, about feeling into one's animal body and rising to the challenges that are natural to us. Like maybe they seem really unnatural and this shouldn't be happening and this isn't okay, but here I am. This is what's happening in my life. This challenge is natural to me. I am a tiger. I am an elephant. I am a wild boar. I am a creature that is rising to the capacity of the moment. And this is part of what we talk about in Prowess Theurgy, which is spiritual in a very deeply somatic, wakeful way. And I wanted to ask you, Johanna, to be part of introducing this with me, because you've done so much of the foundational collaborative work that's anchoring these groups, where, I mean, we've had many different collaborators, but they often have not been able to be in it with us consistently. And you've been there in a lot of different kinds of group work where you've been bringing your full-bodied, embodied skills into these environments. And for me, when you and I started working together, I was having a very, very difficult time accessing anything about somatic awareness. I just I couldn't, there was too much damage, too much destruction. And you were describing some of your practices to me. So this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be 4 years in November or December. Is that right? So, whoa, wow. There are really big things that have happened in the time you and I have been working together. And your part in helping me re-access that physical somatic awareness has been so powerful, so powerful for me. I can't talk. And the success we've had with our groups for Prowess ESO, for Intuitive Prowess, Intuitive Edge, and a lot of related projects, for me, the foundation of that is, holy moly, Johanna was there when no one was describing to me what a healthy somatic practice could possibly look like. And those nutrients filtered into my body brain and started waking things up.
I feel so much, just like breathing through it all. Like, it really has been a journey, and it has been for me too. It's not like I'm an expert and I'm carrying some expert lineage about this. It was something that I greatly needed, and I needed the space, the kind of space that intuitive creates, where it really could be something that I could create into and create with and be created in the exploration of these things. And so there's that dynamic of yeah, I came with things, and I came with some strength and a little bit of experience, but also the space that you and the network created was really unique, and that wasn't happening somewhere else in my life. So I've gotten to grow a lot in these ways. And yeah, to keep doing those practices, right, of presence and creativity and listening. I think those are kind of the baselines. There's lingo, there's some things we've created some things, but yeah. When you were talking about the animals, I was like, don't forget the pterodactyl moments. Those also happen.
Pterodactyl. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. I would be brokenhearted if I had found that out after the broadcast was over. Thank you for bringing that in. We really need the pterodactyl. It's really
we do to bust through those gates and fences sometimes.
So Prowess Theurgy has come from ESO EXP intersections, and lots of people don't know what those are yet. There will be more introductions, and people will start to recognize these terms more readily. But our groups in the network have been working in these multifaceted ways, using different headings. So Intuitive Prowess, Intuitive Edge, Intuitive Soma, and so on. There are many, many, many of these that we connect them together in relationship, and we realize how we can synthesize solutions from many different individual parts, like when we're collaborating in relationship. And Prowess Theurgy has come from a place where the profound necessity has been that we must locate, where is it in the body, where is it in the experience of the body, that there is this divine spark that is ineffable. Many people over the ages have tried to describe, but it is It is like the Tao that is not the Tao is the something is the, I can't say that right either. We can say what it is not often a lot easier than we can even approach saying what it is. There is this spark of creativity that comes from deep in the body, but from beyond the body. You have to go in to find it. It comes out. It doesn't come from out here somewhere. It comes from in here. And it knows things. It knows how to meet a challenge that the rest of the body is like, this is not possible. We're going to die. It knows those things that we think we don't know, and it's in us. And it's in our relationships between us. And it's profoundly sacred. And it's not separate from the physical body. It's inherent to the physical body. It's the sacred material that has emerged from the ancient void. We have so many ways of saying this. I always feel I'm never up to the challenge of verbalizing this well enough to be satisfied with it, but I keep trying.
I mean, I have a sense of the journey with that now. Like, I wouldn't want to misrepresent that, like, I always have a clear message from my stomach or my knee or da da da. I mean, and I think, the nature of this, I just like am grinning hearing you trying to describe it, because I'm like, it's exactly like that. And I mean, my experience is much more kinesthetic than anything else when I'm doing this work. Now, I do want to get better at finding amazing questions to inquire and ask the body, or, to bring to the theurgy practices. But at the same time, like, it's just so generative and relieving to just find a space, to create a space, to be in a space where you're listening, where you're allowing these things to emerge. And we're talking about times of intensity. It's not like this stuff isn't useful all the time, but this is, when we're talking about Prowess Theurgy and working through different kinds of situations of hardship. And like you said, it's like most of my body system is like, I can't do it, but some part of me is like, that's actually not true. Right. So it's like there's this courage. And so the word prowess, right, we think like strength and so on. And do you want to like define theurgy a little bit? I don't know that anyone ever used that term before we did.
Well, they've certainly been used many places.
It has. Okay.
It's not, there are certain contexts in which it is in common use, but it's very uncommon everywhere else. So I'm going to read from the etymology, because that's always a really wonderful.
Good. I wanted to go there too.
All right, here we go. Let me fix my tabs situation. La la la. I have all the tabs. All the tabs are on my computer. No one else has any tabs. Zillions and cajillions of tabs are open in my browsers. I do not recommend it. Okay, so theurgy often refers to the good magic, the divine energy. People talk about it in terms of miracles occurring. The 1858, the working of beneficent divine or supernatural agencies in human affairs. So in the embodied world, in the physical world, there is somehow this conduit of the divine. And so theurgy is a word, theurgical. They're used in a lot of different pretty esoteric metaphysical contexts. Usually I don't hear it in regular everyday parlance. I don't hear parlance all that often either. So in terms of prowess theurgy, in terms of, the word prayer is also really relevant, there's a really restricted understanding of prayer that some people have. And there's a really expansive understanding of prayer that some people have. And I think of that expansive form of prayer when I think of Prowess Theurgy, that the body is a prayer, that the deepest intention and our grounding in sacred action, the way that action emerges from a place where there need not be any thought. The body knows the right thing, and the body simply does. We talk about this meditation we've been sharing a lot, and gosh, I don't have her information here, but it's the Supreme Shakti meditation. I will make sure that it gets posted on Telegram at t.me/intuitive public radio. And that means that anyone who is part of t.me/community IPR will see it. So we'll make sure that it goes in there sometime in the next few days, maybe tonight. It's got some really good stuff in it about action that emerges, that like, you don't have to go, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do this, and then I gotta plan it, and I gotta no, like the flow, like it flows, like muscle memory, right? Like, I think there are much better words for this. It's always interesting to me how much of my vocabulary I can actually access in any given moment. I've been going through some really challenging stuff lately. So like, here's what my vocabulary is right now.
Yep. Well, some of the terms aren't very fancy. Like, is it alliterative? Is it somatic, right? To say like a great being with, right? Like like being with the greatness or the wholeness or the complexity, right? Like being with it in an awake way. Right? Not just in the mind, like I got to solve this problem, or I got to ask for help, or I got to da.
Yeah.
But like, there's much more. So, we talk a lot about being in contact with the unseen as related to invisibility, and branches off from that. And the somatic work puts us in contact with things beyond our little mundane moment, and these long arcs, through, perhaps the future too, but certainly the arcs backwards through time, and the ineffable. Certainly, I love that you brought that word in today too, right? Because we're not separable from that, although we certainly try very hard to believe that sometimes.
Well, I think possibly everybody has experienced really profound pressures to think of the world in terms of the ineffable being very separate from the physical body, or the mind being separate from the physical body, or the mind only being a mechanical, like consciousness being a mechanical, like a consequence of mechanical action. And then like you become conscious because of the machine of your body working in a certain way. Whereas intuitive public radio is based on the understanding that many of us have had to realize and embrace, that there is a vast collective consciousness. There's a vast divine mind that we are all part of, that each individual has a kind of radio receiver. I mean, we can talk about the pineal gland. We could talk about a lot of things. We could talk about cellular communication. We could talk about how mothers and babies experience, and I always think of this as spooky action at a distance, but what is the other, quantum entanglement might be the other term, where a person experiences something and somebody else on the other side of the planet might have a similar experience, or know that thing, or that like they've done tests on cell structures, and we're all coming to these new realizations about the insufficiencies of what we've been taught in the realm of science and spirit, that there's something funny that's been going on, and there's a necessary bridge for us to be activating and building with.
I'm like inspired about 5 more topics that I want to unpack in future broadcasts on this topic.
I'm
But so
excited
just to
about that.
backtrack a little bit, I think so the word theurgy, I was saying like we're putting theo, right, the divine, in contact with like the same root that the word augury has. So, and that's sort of where I wasn't connecting it, like, oh yes, of course, theurgy is talking about miracles and stuff. But so where I'm kind of coming from, like augury being something that a person is doing, a form of divination. And so, I mean, it's interesting because if you think about doing card readings or something, divination already is an assumption that the universe is intelligent, and we're going to get some messages from the greater consciousness. But to really like to put theurgy in there, right? To put the thea in there says that we're purposely working with the ineffable, right? So like when we start to bridge with like, it's not just about like, I need to be more creative, like my brain can't figure it out. It's not just that. It actually is very transformative to enter into these realms. It can change your questions. It can change the terms that you're thinking about your survival or your action on. And it's a whole beautiful, mysterious part of life that I'm glad is getting more attention, at least in our worlds, and in the world in general. Somatic awareness and inquiry practices are on the rise, and I'm very glad for that.
And I want to mention too that a lot of the work that we've been doing in Prowess ESO groups has been about somatic practice, about deepening somatic sensing. I want to mention Thea's work, Thea Fast, Thea Soma, who we've been working with in really beautiful ways for, I'm not even sure how long, but like especially over the last year and a half, but I mean longer than that, like what? Really exploring some amazing things. And in fact, I'm gonna put her tag link down there. That's a list of the posts. So we have more Prowess posts there. And a little later before we wrap up, I will also put a link to we have a Prowess tag for people to take a look at too. This is, it's maybe arguably the most important work that we're doing in the network, because people have to be able to make contact with their own living beingness, their own desires, their own well-being. And that it is epidemic that people are disconnected from that don't know what they want, that don't know what they need, that don't think they're allowed to know what they want or need. And we must have a collective of living beings in their power, in their sovereign vitality, in order for all of us to be able to collaborate together in ways that achieve successes we know must be achieved. We can only do it by deepening our prowess capacitation. It's the way that it must be done.
Yeah.
There are a lot.
I'll let that breathe for a second.
Yeah. Where the internet is hitching up again a little. The internet is having its own physiological experience of deepening somatic connection. Sometimes there are little hiccups. And we just like, we be with them. There are so many amazing topics here.
Yeah. I like have a vocabulary list. Like, I was looking at definitions of embodiment today. I've been looking at the difference between justice and liberation lately. Like, oh, it's so rich. And mostly like, I'm like, I mean, I think one of the things that's happened doing this work over so much time, and it mirrors the spiritual path in some ways, is like it through slowing down, through diving into new realms of sensory experience and practice, we find a responsiveness that's in contrast to like the reaction or the trying to fix it. We find a responsiveness or a creativity or or inspiration. So yeah, so grateful that these things are showing up and that I get to be a part of it and experience that, because I think I think I would be finding some way, like art. This is a new painting behind me. To have some different kind of experience than just like the mind and the social problems and the mechanical things. Like it's not a whole life, at least for me. So
Without that, yeah, we have to have creative activation. We have to become our fullest selves. And that's definitely the subject intersection.
yeah. And then as someone who has a lot of motivation to do change making and to like improve things and experiment in the world and, you know, stop bad stuff and do good stuff. We hit a lot of walls. We hit, you know, there's so many challenges to making change, or like, I mean, there's just an internal process of like shifting our dynamics with what we think we can control or not too, or like where we're trying really, really hard. So like once we have a little more practice, it's like, oh, actually it's safe enough for me to take a breath or take a pause. That can be huge. That can be like completely game changing for a person that's been in hardship for, I mean, a lot of our people, it's been going on for a long time.
Life saving.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, wow, one of the absolutely biggest things.
Yeah. So it's not an accident that this is like intuitive prowess and prowess theurgy have become, and they really currently are very, very primary anchor points in our work.
Well, we have broadcast artwork now, so we're going to keep showing up and talking about this. We have a lot to bring here from a lot of different kinds of group work that are happening behind the scenes, that are happening in the private network. We have a lot of exciting things we will be launching and celebrating in the unfolding future. And I want to invite all of our viewers and listeners and readers into that, because that's where so much life energy is going to be regenerating. These gardens are regenerating. I guess we can wrap up before the half hour. I think we managed it this time.
We never are under. Let's totally end.
Whoa.
We'll be back.
Thank you so much, Johanna Otigam, for helping me anchor this crucial conversation today. To all who are watching, come and find us, www.intuitivepublicradio.network/subscribe. Make sure you're getting our updates in email, and we will be back soon. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening.
Thanks, Megan Elizabeth. Bye, everybody.